Welcome to another episode of the For the Culture Podcast, the soccer podcast for us, by us. It's the best kept secret soccer today. Got your boy Grego here. Got TK. Got Rashad, the mayor.
What?
Yeah, I'm back, man.
What?
Back.
Tommy back? Tommy is back from his job? Tommy back from his job.
Coach is here. Oh, we got our friends from Atlanta United Fan TV. Got AJ, got Tanner. What is going on, gents? How y'all feeling, man?
What's up, gents?
I'm doing all right. Manchester United's doing all right now. Things could be worse, although Liverpool are probably going to end up winning the Club World Cup. But hey, maybe Flamengo can pull a 1981 and beat their ass 3-0 again.
That's what I'm talking about. So, yes, we decided to do a super episode here. We're here at Camellia's down here in Little Five off Moreland. Shout out to them for letting us kick it off here. Yeah, you know what? I'm getting out. You know, it's supposed to be a festive time right now. I'm going to go ahead and get right into that bullshit right here. What the fuck was Serie A thinking?
Oh, my God.
You wearing an Italian,
I'm repping Edgar Davids.
You wearing an Italian top right now.
I'm repping Edgar Davids. That's what I'm doing.
Which is classic.
Yes. FTCUT.myshopify.com. Get you one. But yes. So, Serie A. We're getting this race, because like I said, it's a good time of the year. We're going to get this race some shit out of the way right now. So, Serie A decided, hey, let's go ahead and fight racism. And how did they do this?
They got a white man to make pictures of monkeys.
They're trolling, man. They are trolling.
Like serious, right?
Question.
Serious. They are.
Are you a monkey?
We're all monkeys.
Are we?
Dude, I'm not even entertaining that, man. Like, seriously.
Are you quoting that guy?
Like, they have to be trolling. It's, easily you can say it's tone deaf and, there's...
Which we did.
That's the safe way of going to say. They just didn't realize they thought they were really good. Nah, man, like...
What the fuck were they thinking?
It's laughable. It's laughable at this moment.
It passed through a lot of levels to get there, too.
Yeah, that does.
They're like, okay,
hey, John,
okay,
yeah, you take a look at this.
Okay.
This is a country that ran a Black Friday headline a couple weeks ago.
They're trolling, dude. They're like...
We here
I genuinely don't understand what's going on in Italy.
We here at For the Culture, of course, we have our racism counter for soccer incidents. We decided, we're going to give Italy their own spin-off counter because we can't keep up with all the dumb shit that they're doing. Because I'm like, what in the entire fuck?
I mean, I can't remember if we talked about it on the show, but like, how real it would be like if all black players in Italy were like, deuces. Pieces. F this.
They should.
Our boy Reggie been talking about that for a hot minute. Like, just say, hey, get all the, call your agents, be like, hey, we got to go. It's a reality. And, of course, just to backtrack real quick. So, Serie A decided, let's do a campaign with basically images of 3 monkeys. The monkeys had essentially basically did soccer ball designs on their faces for what reason? I have no idea how that
was a new Planet of the Apes movie coming out.
Exactly.
I thought it was like Planet of the Apes mixed with Tron or something. Like, what the?
And then I saw say no to racism. What?
What an ape?
I'm like, it's one of those things where I'm like, what were you thinking?
And then to double down on it.
Apparently
That's what it is.
One had
Absolutely double down.
one of the monkeys had white people eyes, one of the monkeys had black people eyes, and one of the monkeys had Asian people eyes. I'm not sure how that matters because you can be any race and have any color eyes depending on genetics, but sure, I guess.
Is that the WTF of the year? It might be the WTF of the year. Yeah, it might be a WTF of the year.
So, here's what the Italian government,
The
Italian Federation.
No,
Yes.
the official quotes are pretty ridiculous. This guy says he gathered inspiration from...
if anything, we are all monkeys.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Okay, Charles Darwin.
Exactly.
Take it there.
It's a quote. Jesus Amaro, they can SMFDB. Look that up. I know it's not a family show, but still, I'm going to hold myself. Like, it really does feel like someone's trolling us on this shit. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, and the fact that, like, every week
It's them.
Think about all the shit we've already had so far this year. You had the monkey chance with Romelu Lukaku at Cagliari.
Just this past month.
You had the Black Friday headlines. You had the owner of Brescia making fun of Mario Balotelli for being black. His own player.
Bruh.
All of these things have happened already this year.
Double down and tell us what's racist.
Well, then you come with this campaign, and then you say what's racist and what's not. Okay.
All I have to say
sure.
is reset the counter.
Dude,
just leave the counter at zero every day. Just tweet it out because you know something happened. Whether you saw it or not, some shit happened.
It's just going to stay zero.
Counter is
like I said, Italy's got their own spinoff. We're going to call it Le Counter or Dick Counter. I don't know. But yeah, Italy just got to have their own shit because, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
But seriously, you got to think, as a player of color, going over to Italy and like that's something. I mean, you already know that's the thing. Like being a person of color, going to some of these countries that are, not really recognizing, racial issues or whatever. You know that's always an issue. But the fact that. And also social media plays a factor too because we have more people who are able to record stuff and everything. Like we witness it a little bit better, but
it's the gratification.
Exactly. Yeah.
Evidence.
Yeah, the evidence of it is a little bit more apparent than ever before. But at the same time, as a professional footballer, like if I'm talking to my agent, I'm saying absolutely no to any. I mean, like even Juve, Inter. AC Milan, if they come knocking, I'm like, I'm sorry, if y'all offer me this, then I'm going to have to look at somewhere else. Come on to Manchester United, we'll take you.
Well, Romelu Lukaku was there, and I think everyone who was like, okay, yeah, you're going to go to Italy and immediately get racially abused. And what happened? He immediately got racially abused.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I'm pretty sure like the first day he got there were racist comments made, I think, by the Inter Milan ultras about him. So it's just like, this is what you're getting from Serie A. And the thing is that I think Serie A is one of the few big leagues still in Europe that a lot of the influence of the ultra culture is still massive there. Whatever club it is, the ultras have massive influence. And you had Verona recently, they racially abused, I believe it was Mario Balotelli. And then you had the Brescia ultras come out and agree that it was okay. I mean, after earlier having the Inter Milan ultras say, no, it's actually a sign of respect when we racially abuse you. Like,
man, Italy is canceled.
What is this country doing?
It's funny, dude. Like, I can't even. I
think it was Dembaba that said that. I think he said something along the lines of all players of color should not be playing in Italy, and I think that they should all just throw up the deuces and peace out because clearly you have no protection from either the league or the federation. It's falling on a lot of individual teams. Those teams, specifically, I think AS Roma, who's owned by an American, a part owner of the Boston Celtics, they're the ones that are taking it a lot and saying this is wrong. AC Milan has stood up and said this is wrong. I think a lot of these teams have no faith that the league is going to help them out in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that that's the case is absolutely despicable.
Well, the thing that we also got to keep in mind, and like whenever I have these discussions out in public with people, we, as people from the United States, we take it for granted because we had a civil rights movement. We had something where.
But even so, look at what's the case today, especially for people of color in the United States. I mean, it's nothing compared to there, but.
Oh, I'm not saying we solved this.
FIFA did.
FIFA did. I forgot about that. That was a few years ago. They did solve racism. Forgot about that. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, the fact that we went through a civil rights era in the United States, there's more of a social awareness of it. Whereas when you get into these pockets of European countries or wherever, they didn't have that shit to go through. And so
they didn't have that reckoning.
Right, and so you didn't have that awareness. So if you get into these podunk towns of Italy where these assholes, they're like, no, I'm gonna express my feelings. Anything that's different to me, I'm gonna make fun of it. I'm gonna capitalize off of that any way I can to get the upper hand on someone in a sporting match. This makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Excuse my language, but sorry.
Well, I think something else that you guys think is pretty crazy is the fact that to tie this in with something that happened in La Liga this past weekend, where you had the first ever match abandoned at halftime because the guy who plays I forget which team it was, Albacete, I believe. He plays for Albacete in La Liga, was being abused not for his race, for his sexual orientation, but for his political beliefs, because on social media he has posted things that show that he might have far-right or Nazi leanings. And they stopped a game in Serie A because the fans were calling this guy a Nazi all game, saying, we don't want you here. So they stopped a game because the guy got called a Nazi, but they won't stop a game when players are getting racially abused. Tell me how that makes any sense.
Spain's been having their fair share of political unrest. Of course, we just had El Clasico, Barcelona Real Madrid. Like this game was supposed to happen back in October, I think, and they got postponed because of political unrest in Catalonia, where Barcelona is, and. Of course, they still had protests during the game today, where they were throwing like beach balls with political messages, balloons with messages, and of course the game was 0-0. That's the first
17 years,
the first goalless draw in 17 years, and it's yeah, man, it's crazy how. Of course, we can say the same thing about America as well, but it's funny, what people will stand up for and will be we'll let that slide. It absolutely boggles my mind. But
we'll stand up for some cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just saying. That is literally a can of worms.
Yeah. Just saying.
But yeah. But no, steering things over to a much more, somewhat positive light. The Club World Cup's been started this week, and so our enemies at hand, Liverpool, are over. Is it in Qatar this year?
What? Yep.
Okay, so
it's in Doha.
So they, mind you, they just had a League Cup game where they got smoked by Aston Villa. Yesterday, they basically had to field a team of essentially under 20 players to play that game, and they got rightfully smoked. They came over to, of course, the main senior squad went over to Qatar and played Monterrey, our CONCACAF champs, and Monterey actually gave them a nice little run for their money. Liverpool didn't pull out until damn near the very end. And it's funny, how, of course, we were talking about it on Twitter during the game, and people are of course, we were saying was that Real is getting them a good game, and of course, you had the sympathists yeah, but Liverpool didn't play all their players, yada yada yada. I'm basically they gave the same excuse for them as Monterey fans gave when they played us, and I'm hey, play the game. Because you can't just rely on Allison and just save everything and hope that's going to get you through the game. But did y'all watch the game by chance?
I saw a few bits of it. I think the funniest part of the whole game was that Jurgen Klopp and the manager of Monterrey got into a shouting match, and both got yellow cards at the same time, which was hilarious.
Oh God!
Yeah, Jurgen thought he was about to get away without getting the yellow, and then he turned around and was like, "Nah, bro, what? You too."
That's what tripped me out for a quick second. I was hold up. He's already, he's in Qatar. I'm hold. I had to go back and read. I was the under-23 coach managed the Liverpool squad for the League Cup match. I was damn, I just left them all hanging. I was that's just crazy.
In regards to their League Cup team, the team that they put out to face Aston Villa had a combined 14 senior appearances between all of them. So it's not shocking that they got clapped by a pretty full-strength Aston Villa side who is a team of seasoned vets. And I think it kind of puts a highlight on the fact that you can have a lot of talented youngsters and they can have a lot of technical ability, which arguably they did. They created a few chances. But when you play a team of seasoned pros who've been playing in the Premier League and in the Championship.
Grown-ass men. It's always going to be difficult for those kids. Now it's going to be a good experience for them. But for me, I'm personally fine with them getting clapped 5-0 because I'm a Man United fan. So if Liverpool lose every game they play, I'm still not going to be happy. And then because they are going to the final, of course, that means that the senior squad has to they had the do more replacements for the league action on this weekend. It's like
they want to have a league game this weekend.
That game is
so the game postponed. Okay,
it's TBA.
Okay. So yeah, I was about to say, y'all just trying to just squeeze them up for everything. Like,
No, they're gonna play favorites.
I felt bad for like the kit manager for Liverpool because like they had to put numbers like nobody's seen like 54. There's nothing lower than 54. And they were like, holy.
It can't be like that friendly Atlanta had against Tijuana where they had guys like 197 lining out on the field. It's like, yo, my guy, who's got a 3-digit number running around on the field, my dude?
oh god.
But I felt bad for the kit manager on that.
But yeah, the Liverpool's gonna be playing Flamengo in the final on Saturday.
12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
And like I've watched more FS2 this week than I think I've ever between Club World Cup and then of course they were playing Bundesliga action as well. And I was like, oh, this is what FS2 does. So it's like, okay, I see.
Dude, FS2 is a plug, man.
Yeah.
I get to work at 9 and I turn it on at 9:30.
So you don't work. That's what you're saying.
That's for him to know and his bosses to never find out, ideally.
I'm a manager.
Hey, boss, he ain't working.
And my
I
company
think what's
is
interesting,
really
and I
good to me.
mentioned it in the intro, is the last time that Liverpool and Flamengo met in a competitive competition was back in 1981 in what used to be the Intercontinental Cup, which is where you'd have the winner of the Copa Libertadores play the winner of what was then the European Cup, and they got absolutely clattered. And this is a great Liverpool side, by the way. Got absolutely clattered by Flamengo, 3-0. Zico was man of the match. It was beautiful from everything that I've heard. I wasn't obviously not alive at the time. But I went back and watched highlights and read about it. And guess what? I took joy from knowing that Liverpool got clapped in the time I wasn't alive. I'm always about that life.
No, I appreciate you doing your research stuff.
But it's one of those things to where, it's never a good time to play Club World Cup, and that's all. Like, of course, they're moving in a couple years to where it's going to be like basically like a super Club World Cup. It's like 2014.
2021 is going to be so dumb because it's going to be in June, and I think you're going to have 24 teams potentially, where you'll be in a group of 3 teams. You'll play twice, and you'll go into a knockout bracket. And mind you, this is in June after you've already been playing since August and preseason in July.
So basically like a World Cup, and they're like, but of course that means they can have it here.
But why?
That's true.
So cue that third string players that we just saw today. Because you're going to see injuries. I mean, the fact of the matter, you're going to see injuries. I mean, the load that's going to happen, it's ridiculous. And I say that not in that match, but what you're going to see for guys playing 11 months out of the year, you're going to see injuries, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. It's always a risk. And I'm just like, I think because I was listening to World Soccer Talk last week, and they were talking about how basically the success of the International Champions Cup is kind of what spurred on this Super Club World Cup. And I'm just like, is it really necessary? Like, you really don't need to have this whole
we don't need it, but you know who needs it.
FIFA always.
I mean, at the end of the day, we know what's running.
To get paid. It's disgusting, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, FS2. TK was bringing up what was it? Crystal Palace and Brighton the other day. Like, if you ever if you've never really gotten into soccer like that, and you just watch games, you're just like, the atmosphere here is just fucking dope. And they were just lit. And I was like, yo, I watched that whole match just for the fact that the fans were just so locked in and chanting and singing. And it was
I heard chants I recognized in that match, man. It was like,
what's interesting is I think a lot of people don't recognize the fact that Brighton and Crystal Palace is actually a sort of derby. It's a big rivalry they've had since the 70s, and those two teams do not like each other. But also, Selhurst Park has one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League. That's something that is consistently agreed upon by many fans. I haven't been to a game, but I have been down to Selhurst. I tried to sneak into a Manchester United Crystal Palace game a few years back. I did not make it in. But
where'd you take it at, bro?
Exactly. There's a bit of history between those two teams as well, but it's an old stadium. it's in Southeast London, but that is one of the places in the Premier League that has that old school English atmosphere where it's loud. Those fans are proud of their team regardless of how much they're struggling. So it was a hell of an atmosphere, though. You're right.
Yeah, I need to watch more Bundesliga clearly because, like I said, through FS2, I was watching Dortmund and RB Leipzig, Freiburg, and Bayern. Bruh. So I just want to have a solid 6 months to where Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie are both healthy.
Man.
That's really all I want in my life.
I wanted to cry when I saw that, man. I was like,
Because McKennie just got injured over the weekend, dislocated his shoulder. I'm like,
out till February.
bruh, like, now mind you, like, I don't think it was. I listened to most of the show last week, but I don't think it was mentioned that Tyler Adams just finally came back to training. So that finally, our long national nightmare may be finally coming to an end, where he's finally healthy and able to play. Because like he hasn't played really since last season, because he got hurt. Like I think they're like Gold Cup training, so or maybe like at the very end of last season, but. Yeah, like, can we catch a break? I mean, Berhalter isn't going anywhere, and I'm just like, yo, like, bruh, like this is just, it's so depressing. But yeah, swinging back over to England, we're gonna turn this over to AJ here, our resident Arsenal fan, since Ringo isn't here. Heard y'all might have a manager, or maybe not.
Oh yeah, it's we're not doing right by Man City apparently, but so apparently Arteta may or may not be the guy, but he's pretty much through the door. It's just a matter of kind of dotting the T's and the I's, but it's also. Yeah, there's a transfer fee that we need to give to Man City. There's a conversation that we need to start with Man City, and yeah.
Hold on, we're gonna make this deal without y'all. Just like, hey,
exactly. We're gonna take your assistant coach, but you guys actually need to talk to us.
What's compensation?
But so it's a little bit of an awkward situation, even though they know pretty much what's going on. And in terms of Arteta being the guy, I mean, I
think it says a whole lot, given that you're going from, you have never managed any club whatsoever. You went straight from
not even like U23s or like anything.
He was Pep's number 2 at Man City. Of course, he came from Arsenal because he
was our captain for 5 years. Yeah,
and so basically he's coming back to Arsenal, and yeah, it's like what that says a lot about, I guess, what Pep's been doing. The fact that you say, hey, we just take your assistant manager, like he hasn't done shit from anywhere else, but hey, we're going to make him our manager.
Yeah, through osmosis, he's going to magically become the guy that can take us from really the depths of the despair that we're in right now to where we really want to be. I mean, really, I just want a respectable defense that won't just ship goals every single game. So every away game is just a what?
Does Luis there?
Luis there, yeah, I know. Coming from the Chelsea fan, TK, yeah. Luis has been a nightmare a little bit. I mean, okay, he's great on the ball, but he plays so deep that he is ruining.
He's horrible.
Like every single counterattack that we face.
Hey, for me, he's like a moving fence with like a hole cut into it.
Defensively, yes.
He leaks.
Right. And I think we even tried him in midfield one time, and it went about as well as you would expect. It was just, it's a shambles.
He scored a free kick this year?
Yeah, he scored a free kick, I think. Yeah, I think he did.
That's supposed to be the specialty.
Yeah, exactly. And when you have, that's kind of a crux of a problem too, is if your center back is taking your free kicks, come on. You know, it's not like Sergio Ramos or something like that. That's a whole different deal. That's like a guy that's, manhandling his way on the captainship. But anyway, sorry, Real Madrid fans. But,
I'm sorry.
Not really.
But in terms of Arteta, going back to Arteta being the guy, it's just, there's so many unknowns, but in terms of, the qualities that he does bring, in terms of, he does kind of do the tactics for Pep at times in terms of, some of their training, The stories about him kind of developing Raheem Sterling a little bit, that's great. But in terms of just, any sort of just, you want some qualitative things that you can bring to, like, say, oh yeah, this would be a really inspired choice. There's just a lot lacking. So
I think what's interesting is that the Arteta appointment kind of goes into this thing that seems to be happening at a lot of clubs now. I think it started a lot with Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid, a guy who gets the club, who played at the club. And then you see the same thing happening with
B squad experience.
Right, he did. But you also saw the same thing with Manchester United appointing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then now with Chelsea appointing Frank Lampard. These are these people who they get the club or they get the culture of the club. It's these phrases that are getting tossed around. I think the interesting thing right now is that is Arteta going to be able to come in and do a similar job to Solskjaer in that there's a toxic locker room there. There's a toxic atmosphere. The squad is divided. You have factions, all over the gaff.
Yeah,
Can he be the guy to come in and unite them and get them heading in the right direction, or at least get them in the right mental space to work as a team? Because right now, it doesn't even look like Arsenal functions as a team.
Yeah, I mean, the other day, Willie Aubameyang, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's brother, on social media was pretty much slating, maybe that's a harsh word, but was saying that Arteta doesn't have experience just like Freddie. And, that's a little bit worrying when the brother of your star striker is saying that on social media. It really kind of maybe outlines that there might be a divide in the locker room.
At least it wasn't from a burner account, So.
Exactly, yeah, right. And so, I mean, he maybe knew what he was doing then in that regard. It's just a mess right now. It's the worst we've been for a very, very long time.
But I think it's a very precarious time for Arsenal, just given that. You're talking about you're still trying to stay within the top 4, top 6 spots.
That's gone, but
if that's even remotely possible. And then it's like, okay, you're bringing in this guy. Granted, he's a club legend, but at the same time, he's never managed anywhere before. It's like, is he really going to get that same type of support?
I would say club legend is maybe even too high of a esteem.
It's been very loose.
He's been a captain of the club, but in terms of
the legends have been loose this decade.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie is a legend.
Yeah,
what happens to Freddie though after the appointment? Does he go back to the youth setup?
The reserves, right?
No, well, last season he was the reserve, the U23's coach, but now he is the assistant coach essentially he was for Emery, and then now he's the caretaker, of course. That's the question. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I think Arsenal still want to keep around, but it's just a matter of he has mentioned, there is a matter of he now has the taste of it, and now he may want to do it. But
he's still got to get his badges and everything.
Right.
I guess once he gets that straight, we can kind of go from there. But I think that, like I mentioned a couple weeks back, my worry was that things weren't going to turn around with him, and it's going to put some stink on him.
Yeah, well, there is a little bit of a stink, but the stink really belongs to the Cronkies. The owner of the club, the whole family, they need to go.
I agree. Or hire someone who knows what the fuck is going on.
I mean,
how to run a club.
Right. The Cronkies, I think we've known in America what type of owners they are. They are kind of careless owners that really are just worried about the bottom line. If you look at the Colorado Rapids, you look at the Rams and how that situation went. Not very swimmingly.
Whoa! I'm a Rams fan.
In terms
Easy,
of
leave it out. We made a Super Bowl for the first time in 20 years.
Talk to the St. Louis fans that are absolutely pissed at the Cronkies as well. Join the club, but so essentially, this is. Since they've had a piece of Arsenal, we have been going downhill. Since we've moved to the Emirates, we have been going downhill. It's a travesty for Arsenal fans. I know, I get it. Play the tiny violin, but it is one of those things where, I mean, it's how far we have come and how far we have fallen is really the crux of it is the Cronkies.
Yes, and thank you for watching Arsenal. Atlanta United. For the culture. But yeah.
quickly changed from all Man U podcast.
We had diversified. We had diversified this.
We have diversified ourselves.
We're not doing that shade of blue yet.
Chelsea shit can stay over there.
We'll go blue, but we'll segue in a proper way to,
Ancelotti.
to Everton. Hold on. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, Carlo.
Arsenal played Everton today in the EFL Cup. Does anyone know how that ended?
Leicester played them. Arsenal lost the last round to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, did I write that down wrong?
Yes.
Ah, shit.
It's okay. We got you, my guy. It went to PKs.
Yes, that's what it was.
In typical Everton fashion, they broke their Everton fans' hearts. Leighton Baines scores a screamer in stoppage time at the end of the second half. They end up going, looking like Marcelo putting it top bins. They go to pins and then they lose. I'm fine with. But
speaking of Marcelo, like
it was 2-4.
Circling back to the El Clasico, I didn't realize Real Madrid had that many people like this hurt and injured. I was like, good Lord. Yeah, I was like, Jesus. Like Marcelo, James, I was like, they probably thought they had like this should be easy, but Carlo Ancelotti. You know, it's so weird that Arsenal is the big club and they go for the rookie, and Everton says, "Hey, we're going to go for the experience." And like you would think it would have been the other way around, all this considered, but
Apparently, he interviewed with Arsenal, and
they said, "No."
Yeah, they were like, "Okay, this is the thing as well." Sorry to harp on Arsenal guys, but essentially. It might seem like we're going a little bit of the controlling route where the head coach is someone that we can really just, manhandle and say, hey, you're going to do what we want. And then Carlo Ancelotti is more of a kind of manager type versus Arteta head coach type. So, they have a little more
I actually think it's a good move for Arsenal to not get Ancelotti. And here's why. And I still think it's a very curious move for Everton to do it. Throughout his career, Ancelotti has, especially in the last decade or so, he's been a guy that's taken over finished products. When you look at the team he won the double with at Chelsea, that was a completed team nearing the end of its cycle. He got out some tunes of some players who you thought were on the downside, and he got a tune out of them. PSG, he does really well with a team in Ligue 1, obviously. They're going to be the best team. But he still does well with them. Then he goes to Real Madrid. That team's pretty much complete. You have Cristiano Ronaldo on this side. He wins the La Decima. So then you have a guy, he goes then to Bayern side and struggles. He goes to Napoli and he struggles. Arsenal, they don't have their shit together. I think he would struggle there because for all intents and purposes, he's not a tactics guy. He's a very relaxed guy that allows players to go and do what they want to do. His biggest criticism at Bayern was that he wasn't intense enough in the training sessions. And so I think it's a curious appointment by Everton as well because clearly they need some drilling. Clearly they need some discipline, which is how they got their reaction from Duncan Ferguson, who's supposed to stay on staff. But I'm curious to see what
he was doing.
Yeah.
I thought I was kind of disappointed that they didn't try to stick a little bit longer with Duncan Ferguson. I was like,
nah.
I don't know if he's a full-time manager.
He beat y'all. He beat y'all.
Yeah, he did.
A loud voice only gets you so far, though.
But, for me, Duncan Ferguson is at best a stopgap. That shit he pulled with Moise Keane, and then for him to be, for me, on Moise Keane, the Italy shit he went through last year was just fucking ridiculous.
Back to the racial abuse.
Exactly. And then we're going to skip right back to it to, you put this guy on at the 77th minute, and then you yank him at the, 89th or something, or the 70th. It was 20 minutes he's on the field. Pull one of the other fucking 6 players on the field.
Now, in Duncan Ferguson's defense, watching that match and going back and watching it again, he was not doing anything that Duncan Ferguson asked. He was not tracking back. He was not holding any position. He was doing nothing that helped the team. He wasn't making runs forward when they were countering. So I understand Duncan Ferguson making that substitution because Moise Keane hasn't had a great go at Everton so far. To be honest, he probably doesn't understand a word of what Duncan Ferguson is saying either. So I understand the sub in that he wasn't doing something, but also to then kind of make up these excuses afterwards kind of shows that maybe he lacks a little bit on the man management side, which is something that Carlo has in spades in terms of managing the squad and their egos.
I think that broke the camel's back, and they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and spring for Ancelotti.
Listening to Duncan Ferguson speak, it actually reminds me of there's this old YouTube video of a Scottish guy talking to Siri and wants some chimney chips. And it's I can only imagine. He's like, what are you saying?
Or it's like that video of the 2 Scottish guys with the voice-activated elevator. Does not go well. I think one of the interesting things about this appointment from Everton, though, is Everton have been investing a lot of money. They have new ownership in Farhad Mashiri. They're trying to become a big boy club. They have plans to build a new stadium on the waterfront in Liverpool. And this is a big appointment for them. I mean, it sounds like he's going to be about £12 million a year or so. 15 million pounds a year or so. So that's a lot of money for a club like that, saying, hey, we're hiring a guy that's won multiple European Cups. We want to be amongst the big boys. But you know he's going to have money to spend in January. But as far as I'm concerned, that club, as much as they need to buy, they need to sell. They've got players on wages that aren't pulling their weight, and they've been spending money left, right, and center. And they've just got a mishmash of players that I don't think make any sense for any tactical system.
That's wild. Before we forget, shout out to Collier Barnes for going down to Miami. Well, he already lives down there, but he was our culture correspondent down at NBC Fan Fest. Got a lot of footage down there. If you caught our stories over the past weekend.
Yeah. Special treat coming for y'all, man. Got a new sponsor.
but yes, we're going to pay a quick bill.
That fan fest was wild too. Did you see that? Did you see the woman? The woman that dropped an F-bomb on national TV.
Bro.
Rebecca Lowe was like, "What is going on?" And then she proposed to her man with a Liverpool scarf, saying, "You'll never walk alone if you marry me."
It was like 11:15 Eastern
What was
time.
happening? I was so confused.
Miami.
It was 11:15 on like a Saturday morning.
She planned
What was
that.
going on?
She did not go to sleep.
She said sorry immediately, though. She was like, sorry.
Have you not been to Miami, man?
He hasn't been, yeah.
I have not been to Miami.
El Paso.
I said we're working on getting down there ourselves, but yeah, that was just wild. But yes, thanks to Koya for doing that for us. You know, if you got something going on in your area and you want to rep the culture, let us know. Like I said, we'll definitely make you a culture correspondent. But yeah, on the flip side, we will talk more stuff on the state side. Charlotte finally getting announced, and yeah, just hit up the Fan TV guys. But yeah, we'll be back and pay a bill. And we are back. So, you know, are you going to see Star Wars this weekend?
You
did?
Yeah. When you know, you
Oh,
know.
man. Hustle Man on the corner got it already.
Not like that. Everything's already these
Hustle Man
days.
at Camp Creek World of Beverages already has it on DVD. I'm telling you.
Oh, God. The car person?
Bruh. He's got Harriet in 4K right now, too, man. Bruh.
But yeah, circling back over here to the stateside, like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, it finally became official this week. Charlotte became the 30th and apparently last MLS team to be announced. They are team number 30.
Big air quotes, my guy.
Yeah.
Around
Yes.
last.
It's last until
Somebody's got a bigger bag.
No, so
Let's talk about the bag.
that bag
Talk about
is
that bag.
Big
Hey,
bag.
let's do a comparison. Does anyone know what it was for Austin or Nashville?
well, Austin didn't have to because they were kind of grandfathered in.
You're right.
but no, I think
For us,
Or even Atlanta.
Us was 70.
Atlanta was 70.
70?
70
70.
Yeah.
And it was 10 for Toronto, right?
yeah, 10 for Toronto back in
10 for
2000.
Toronto.
Even
2007.
earlier this year, Sacramento and St. Louis paid $200,
Yeah,
and Charlotte
okay, 300.
325.
They got wow.
$25 million. My guy.
They were like, you know how many banks we got here, bro?
Right?
The same guy
The
that
stadium
paid
is
that
called-
bought the Panthers for a bill last year.
Yeah, that's just wild to me. And I'm just like,
Premier League teams like,
yeah, they were
Probably buy Newcastle for $325 million. They
Exactly.
actually wanted you to do it.
Yeah, Mike actually like, yo, why couldn't you put it over here, man? Like I needed that, but no,
Sports Direct?
I gotta save the high street.
I have a confession to make, and you know it's not easy for me to say this. I saw that price tag and I was like, you know what? I actually think they might be done. Let me take that back. They still need to get to 32 teams because they need to get it back to an even split between East and West. But beyond that, I'm not sure how much more they can expand because I'm like, you got to think about it. Charlotte just paid $325 to get in. So you're talking about probably Team 31, Team 32, all the way up to just to 36.
that's the baseline.
You're talking $500 million. for a league that still struggles with visibility.
Would you pay an expansion fee or just buy one of the teams that's already there?
There you go. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, is it really going to be worth it to keep expanding? Because I can't see where I said $500 million for an MLS team, and that's just the fee. You haven't even got to the stadium.
You also said the split between East and West. Is Charlotte going to be in the West too?
They are West North Carolina.
What's 4 hours north?
But you know what?
3 hours east.
But that's a tricky thing because like I actually was looking at the footprint now with Charlotte, and I was like, I don't know like who goes west because of course, like we mentioned the other week, Nashville right for next season is going out west, and I'm like, here's the tricky part that you have to kind of figure out.
Southwest Atlanta.
Everyone wants to be around Chicago right now because you have St. Louis. That's of course you want to build up that rivalry. You have Minnesota that's still not too far away, and the closest team that they have to them is Chicago. Then of course you have with St. Louis you have Kansas City that you probably want to build up that a little bit, and I'm just like, there's no easy way to split that up. And I'm just like, I don't know how to, I don't know how it's going to work. Even if you do go to 32, I'm like, yeah, unless both of those teams are out west, which is totally possible because you have Phoenix and San Diego and Vegas that were up there trying to get a bid going. But yeah, it's tough.
Well, it's going to get weird because the more you expand, the more you're kind of looking at kind of what you see in college football, where you're going to have to play everyone in your conference twice. I think that's something that everyone agrees upon. So if you have 16 teams in your conference, you have to play all those teams twice. That's 30 games right there. Yeah. Are you still playing a 34 league game schedule? Are you moving up to 38? If you're moving up to 38, you're still only playing half the teams out in the Western Conference. So if you have protected rivalries, now you have that in place. This means you're only going to see some teams every, 2-3 seasons?
Yeah.
How's that going to work?
You know, Ringo had brought up the idea about doing the 3 conferences, and like honestly, at this point, I'm like that might have to be what happens here because I don't see how it works any other way. At least as far as like just splitting the teams up, but as far as the schedule goes, like especially given like of course we can go about this whole schedule shit all day long, but I don't. You're talking about adding another 4 games when you're already having the compressed season as is. And I'm just like, MLS is making a mess, but it doesn't have to be a mess. And it's absolutely maddening at this point. And, yeah.
Do we become a watered-down league?
Well, you look at the English League Championship. They play, 46 games a season?
Jesus. But they still have a whole 10 months. Like, we're working with 7, maybe.
Exactly. I mean, I think the league it's such a weird place because it felt like for a second there after Atlanta United joined, and obviously we're all going to be a bit biased, but it seemed like there was a little bit of a plan as far as expansion was going. It's like, well, they're going to slowly do this and make everything work. And the last 2 years, it just seems like, oh shit, you got a few $100 million you want to throw at it? Come on in. And
that's always been the thing. Like, you know, like they've always been suckers for like, hey, you got the cash, you got the money, honey, I got the time. But like I said, it's going to get to the point, like, I've always said that there's going to come to a point where those expansion fees dry up, and then you got to figure out, okay, oh shit, we actually had to develop a good product on the field. And I think that we're just about at that point. And you know, it's one of those things to where I don't know what the answer is here because
there might have to be maybe some like relocation, kind of how the other major sports leagues in the United States going to do.
But you know, that's the thing though, because of course you saw what happened with Columbus and Austin, and I think that just given how soccer is just in general, I think that you're going to find more pushback as far as teams relocating. So I think that you're going to have to figure out a way to find some type of balance in between expanding and but at the same time keeping some type of coherence because I think in this next decade they're going to have a real come to Jesus moment as far as like that, you know, like I said, we can.
It ain't gonna happen. I'm telling you what's not gonna happen. This model's been replicated throughout U.S. soccer for decades. Our whole youth system is based upon monetizer, and anytime there's people that come with money and they're like, "Yes, Yes, we will take that. We will pimp ourselves out to take the money for anything.
But Tony, can we do
whatever be U.S. Soccer Federation, MLS? It don't matter, man. They'll take that money. It does not matter. And I'm seeing it right now in youth soccer. And you see the same thing on the pro level. They don't care about the product. They care about if you got cash money, we will take it. We are not worried about the end game.
How do kids got pro realm? We don't, man. Like, can we talk about the holidays, man? Can we do that, man?
Sorry.
I mean, how are you ever? That's the sad thing is that the more you expand, obviously people are going to be like, look, USL is growing, I think, in a strong way.
They are.
And it would make sense if you did have eventually an American Premier League with maybe 20 teams, you had a promotion relegation. But how are you going to convince anyone to do that in the next decade when you're paying over $250 million to get a team in the first place? You're not going to risk that investment.
Yes and no. But, of course, I think it's possible. But at the same time, I think the way that it would probably happen here would not be the same way that you would probably see it overseas. It'd be a very American way. Like I said, man, just give me like 5 hours over the holidays, man. I got you.
I also think the one thing you can.
I got something to do. It's called. I think
the one thing you can guarantee.
I got charts. I got diagrams. I got you, man.
I got flip charts. The whole thing. I think the one thing you can guarantee is that people, I think, have been trying to make the supporter shield be a little bit more important. I think that's dead. Because you have no balance in the schedule, so how can the supporter shield mean anything important at all if no one's playing anything close to the same schedule?
That is very true.
I think that's a great point. And then you got the Open Cup, which is like the FA Cup of America. But I think if they restructured it to be a little bit more inclusive to the lower league teams, and then we figure out whatever kind of structure.
So like there's been this isn't part of the rundown, but like there's been like a lot of a couple of League Two and NPSL teams that have been like, hey, we can't do the U.S. Open Cup now because we can't play our college players. So they're like, hey, we're not doing Open Cup, and I'm like, just to put it out there real quick, you're bitching about not being able to play your unpaid interns. I find no sympathy there. I'm like, no.
I think one thing that could be really interesting with the U.S. Open Cup is one competition that I think could benefit from expansion because you're going to have more quality teams in there.
Yeah.
But it's something that you see in France and in Italy as well. I think would really help
the league we do not name, man.
Well, yes, but in terms of a concept of a competition, they have the big teams always play away. So as long as you're still playing USL teams, have Atlanta United go to Charleston or wherever we're going every single time. You expect those teams to still win, but that'll get a gate for those teams, which will be good for them in their business model. But eventually, when you get to the big boy rounds, it won't matter because you'll have the MLS teams. You'll be drawing those teams to play wherever it is. But it'll be more competitive because it's a cup that I think, as a tournament, people will put more emphasis on. So I think the U.S. Open Cup is the one competition that maybe doesn't mean a lot now that can benefit from expansion.
Well, I think everybody loves a good, Cinderella story or a good little upset.
Goliath,
I mean, I think that's the beauty of the FA Cup versus, also our version of it with the U.S. Open Cup. So, like, the expansion of it, like, to have a team come from, like, a semi-pro status to where they competing with the big boys, like, people love that feel-good story. And that's the American dream, right?
But yeah, man, we're going to switch things up a little bit for this episode, this being our year-end episode. We'll still have a couple episodes for Christmas and New Year's, don't worry. But yeah, this is like our last main one for main episode for this year. But we of course with Christmas coming up, we have one specific question for next week that we're going to ask. Like, what do you want for? I guess we're not going to count United. We'll save that for next week. But what do you want for Christmas for your European team, for next year?
Well, there's 3 Manchester United fans here, so we all can't. Four Manchester United fans here, so we all can't say the same thing. So I'll start first and steal from all you guys. I'm going to say I want a healthy Paul Pogba. That's what I want. I want a healthy Paul Pogba, because if you have a healthy Paul Pogba, I think that makes
Especially
the rest of the
the way
team
we've been playing
tick.
lately.
Especially when you need someone that can find that final ball, that can break down a deep lying defense. That's something Paul Pogba can do. And if you look at the compilation of all the passes he's had that have hit Romelu Lukaku and bounced straight up in the air, or other players like Alexis Sanchez who have no idea how to hit a soccer ball anymore, you have players like Martial, Rashford, and now Mason Greenwood who are playing well.
Yeah, I said that.
Those guys can do something with that.
We've had a nice run the past few weeks, and I'm like, it's like that's all I keep thinking. I'm like, we're playing this one. I'm like, just imagine if we had Pogba, but then he actually had his head on straight. I'm like,
and Fred's remembered how to play soccer now.
Yeah, it's very intriguing to see how that would be. What you got, Coach?
I just want a top 4 finish.
I'll take that.
I want a top 4 finish. I mean, it's kind of like that. What was it, Scooter Magruder? He did that little.
It's always funny when I see him doing a soccer video. I'm like, hey,
I just want to be relevant again. I just want to be good again. That's where we're at. No, I honestly do. I mean, we miss Champions League. Nobody wants to play on Thursdays.
Not even on TV. Not even on TV. Like, bro.
Nobody wants to play on Thursdays.
What you got, Rashad?
Well, what I want is something I've been talking about to you guys for the last maybe couple days, couple weeks, maybe. I want Holland, man.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, he's been talking about that for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dream was
The 6'4".
Is this poster on your wall?
Not yet.
Apparently only around a 20 million euro release clause as well.
Damn.
Big problem though, you know who his agent is, right?
No, so
Mino Raiola.
so here's the crazy part.
Anytime he's involved.
So here's the crazy part. I'm gonna get you London guys in a second. I did not realize. So if you go do your research and everything, we're talking about Erling Haaland. He plays for RB Salzburg, and so for those of you who know your Manchester United history, you know that his father played for Manchester City, Alfie Haaland.
And Leeds.
Yeah. And there is a certain captain of Manchester United who ended his father's career, Roy Keane. As a matter of fact, if you go into YouTube and you search Haaland and Roy Keane, like you will see. Well, first of all, Haaland injured Keane first, correct?
Well, kind of. It was a bad tackle from Keane that got himself kind of injured as well, and Keane didn't take kindly to that, and it was a bad challenge. And anyone who knows Roy Keane, if there's one thing he isn't, that's
got all the smoke.
Calm.
All the smoke. He'll give you every last bit of the smoke. So when he came back and they played Manchester City, he intentionally tackled Alfie Haaland, tore his knee up, basically ended his career, and so basically you're talking about bringing down his son to United. I'm like, that would just be the most ironic shit ever in life. Now, having said that, what you London guys want?
I want Kroenke out, and I don't care if it's realistic. I don't care. That man and that family, they just need to go somewhere that's just not North London. Oh my God. Because it's ruining my life. I cannot find happiness with Arsenal if he's there.
But how do you really feel?
Look, at least Tottenham aren't winning the league. We're in a situation as Man United fans where we have Liverpool about to win the league for the first time in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It is the darkest of timelines. I'm not happy about it. Oh, don't forget, City won the last 2 leagues and Liverpool won the Champions League last year. At least Spurs are still Spurs and shit at winning important things.
Yeah, I would love to rewind into the 2000s right now. We don't like majority of us. We'd all be happy.
Mid 2000s, everyone sitting at this table would be happy. Premier League titles all around, and also John Terry slips in the Champions League final.
There's actually a poll going on right now for the greatest Premier League moments, and you want to know what's winning that poll?
Aguero,
Stevie G slipped when Demba Ba came and scored our goal.
That was a beautiful moment that I think we can all cherish.
I was just going to say, that's another one we can all just relish in that right there.
So what do you got, Tika, while you're wearing this resplendent Legends of the Culture hoodie? What you got, man?
Man, I think we got our drug, but I think the only player that's going to be like world class is Tammy at the moment, at least it looks like it. I don't know what I really want from Chelsea.
A defense that doesn't concede 2 goals a game.
Yeah, but it's not like I don't think like Koulibaly would fix that, or I just think I don't know.
Can we get say no to racism?
You know what I want?
Yeah. Thank you.
No, dude, we did anti-Semitism in May of this year.
In
raise a
New
fuck ton of
England.
money.
In New England. What about
Yeah.
London, man?
I mean, hey, half our players.
Now,
are
granted,
people
you
POCs,
need that in Boston. You do need that in Boston, but yeah, you also need it in London as well.
Yeah, well, Abramovich has got the Jewish connection, so like that's how that just rolls. But what I think I want for Christmas for Chelsea is
To beat Bayern?
Hakimi. I think I'm on the Hakimi train, man. I think he's super underrated. Like I feel like nobody's watching him at Dortmund. Nobody realizes he's actually on Madrid's squad and on loan at Dortmund and just burning shit up, from my opinion. I'm on FS2 at 9:30 a.m.s watching Dortmund. So I think we'll secure the back with. You know what? Actually, I'm a back skirt this a little bit. I want a fullback who is a better defender than he's an attacker. That's what I want.
We already signed Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Sorry.
You're right, man.
I'll tell you what I want. I just want. I'm not even going to talk about United. I just want Italy to stop fucking up. I want them to. I want them to solve their racism. For real. Because I'm like, I think it kind of reminds me of, how the NBA in New York, like. I think the world of soccer actually needs Italian soccer to be good again. And it's like, you're seeing this shit, and you're like, who's going to want to fuck with Italy with all this shit going on? And it's like, you need AC Milan, you need Juve, you need Inter to actually, stand up and say, hey, we're not with this shit. Like, this needs to stop.
You're fucking up my transfers, y'all.
Yeah, basically. Like, and
That's really what's going on.
It's absolutely ridiculous, just to circle back on what we started to show off with them. Like you really have, for as long as most of us have been watching soccer, to see a country just repeatedly fuck up. It's like, where has this been? It's like y'all just got the wrong people in charge and just got you're not listening to anybody. You're saying, hey.
It's like when you dig yourself in a hole and then
more dirt, please. More dirt, please.
More shovels, please.
No, it's like they made a house down there, honestly. Seriously, they're like, damn, there's some good burrows right there, man. They can burrow.
But yeah, that's really all I got.
Do you want to touch on the Champions League draw real quick?
Yeah, round of 16.
Yes. How are we looking on that?
Man, I'll tell you who Chelsea plays.
Chelsea about to catch an L to Bayern. They're still mad about 2012.
Hey, 2012. Hey,
I can't wait for Gnabry.
I'm putting $50 on the odds of 4,000 to 1.
Speaking of 2012, the hoodie that TK is rocking the name set is based off the 2012 Champions League jersey. So it's like, yeah, like I said, get you one. FTCUTD.myshopify.com. What else we got in the draw?
PSG Dortmund. I think that's pretty tasty. Mm-hmm. You got Barcelona, Napoli. That's probably going to go one-way traffic. No. You got Lyon, Juventus. That's one-way traffic. I think your tasty fixtures are going to be Manchester City versus Real Madrid. And you have Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool. So there's some tasty fixtures in there. You also have Atalanta and Valencia, but I don't think anyone's paying too much attention to that one, unfortunately.
Did he say Atlanta's in it?
Atalanta.
Yeah. But I think they were a surprise package in the group stages.
You said what now?
I think they were a surprise package.
It's some pretty tasty stuff, though. So hopefully a good Champions League round of 16 and Chelsea lose.
Oh,
before I did want to throw in.
Bayern look weak today, man. Fuck that. they got that goal at literally the 90th minute.
That's true.
Alphonso Davies was like a ghost on the left side, man. And
he
all
did
about
have the first
that guy.
goal. He did have the first goal.
I mean, still, he was like our Hindman.
Put money on it.
He was just
Put
there.
money on it.
I'm putting money on. I'm telling you, the
Just
odds are
throw
4,000 to 1.
You already got to buy down on the name set.
4,000 to
So
1.
yeah.
Six pack.
Yeah,
Man. We put a 6 pack on it.
Dude, I keep one in the car, dude. Just whatever you want.
6 pack.
Before we have there was one down that I did want to get. Actually, no, Tony wanted to get to American Gods.
Oh man, that's some bullshit, man. Sorry. Man, our brother Orlando is no longer on the show. And I'm a big American Gods fan. It was one of my favorite books by Neil Gaiman. And then it came into a show on Stars. And Orlando played the character of Anansi the Spider, or Nancy, as he's known as on the show. And I think there was some dispute about the role of the character and how it was the significance
A little
of.
too bold for it.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen it, but there's this great monologue basically that he had in the first season where he is on a slave ship coming from part of the transatlantic slave trade, and he's a Nazi spider, and he talks about how he's talking to the slaves on the ship about how basically prepared that you are about to get effed, and he goes into the whole history of almost in a poetic and a lot of symbolism in his speech, in his monologue, basically. And several times throughout the whole story as well that, he has some thought-provoking and definitely some social commentary to current events that are going on, especially like police brutality and everything like that. And so he was definitely moving the needle on that, and I love the character. And it wasn't totally in line with what was in the book, but they basically asked Orlando to deuce out because of how that character was
Too spicy for
evolving.
everybody
Yeah.
to take. But yeah, man, that's shitty.
That is down. That was my down. I'm mad about that.
I do got one quick up. Shout out to Georgetown for winning their first national championship. I actually watched that game.
Dude.
Now,
Can we sign Dyke?
Now, mind you, you still have to understand. Explain to me how they were able to do like 32 substitutions during the game.
It's just unlimited. You just can't come back in the same half. Yeah.
I was like, that's so college. Like that's crazy. But yes, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go onto the culture shop at ftcut.myshopify.com. We still got the sale going on for 20% off with the promo code Santa Baby. Name sets, hoodies, hats. We don't. Hold up. Actually, we do have some. That's not yet. I'm talking about next week. We'll see. But yes. What else we got? We got the socials. What else? FTC.
I was gonna throw an up or down in there. If you want.
What you got?
Well, I guess we kind of covered it, but just on some real culture. I missed it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Big ups to Lewis Hamilton. He won the F1 World Championship. Another one in the hat. It's just nice because he's kind of coming to the end of his career, and so I feel like it's just been nice to see a person of color dominating
number
a
6.
sport where it takes a lot of money as like the gate of entry.
He is one off of the record
Schumacher's record.
Schumacher at 7.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, dude, he's still hungry, and I think that's coming real soon.
He has a great chance to win number 7 next year.
Well, I mean, Verstappen and Leclerc are right on his heels. I think this next season is going to be incredibly exciting. A lot of rule changes are happening, but I missed that a couple weeks ago. So big shout out to Lewis Hamilton for any of the F1 fans that are listen to the pod.
Yes, and if you haven't done so already, watch Watchmen. Just get all up into that.
Shout out Victor Lindelof is a writer on this on the Watchmen. If you don't know, now you know.
It was filmed here.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, but I don't think,
Also, like downtown Decatur, like that main scene was right there in the square.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. But yes, if you haven't done so on HBO, get up on that. I
think we meant Damon Lindelof. Yeah, right. Damon Lindelof. Sorry, I got you, fam.
Lindelof is a defender for Manchester.
Yeah, exactly.
Great United, and he does this. Same guy.
What a guy.
And we forgot one more thing to talk about. Sal. We in a pizza spot. We didn't talk about Sal.
Yeah, man.
That's exactly.
Damn, that's right. But yes.
Sal
we ain't got no pictures of any black guys up here. This
Carrie
I can see.
Sal on
Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. He passed away last week.
Danny Aiello.
Right,
yeah. And yeah. Let's see. I'm looking around the walls.
Let's see. Are there any black people on the walls here?
Yeah, got a roller skater girl. Yeah, roller girl.
I got one.
You got one. It looks like it.
That's token. All right. Yeah, last one.
That's all.
On this same note, man, I went to high school in this town in South Georgia called Valdosta. There's a town next to it called Lakeland, and they painted. Historically, they paint people on the side of the walls, and this is literally a one stop sign flashing yellow lights kind of town. apparently somebody got pissed off at some point in time and noticed that there wasn't any black people painted on the side of the wall. So circle back, here we are.
It's always something, but yes, make sure you, of course, you guys are sticking with us for next week's episode as well. But of course, in the meantime, where can you find Atlanta United Fan TV?
All right, so yeah, you can find Atlanta United Fan TV at ATLUTD Fan TV on Twitter and TikTok, and then Atlanta United Fan TV spelled out completely on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Cool. Yes, thank
Greg,
you.
TikTok? They got TikTok, bro.
I don't have a TikTok. I'm just Tanner W. McLeod on Twitter and Instagram. I don't have that kind of social media footprint.
I got a question for you guys. I've been slacking on this, and I was like, gonna be like, oh yeah, they're gonna see TK put in an order. Y'all got a promo code? I'm trying to get that Wakanda jersey, the hoodie.
Oh yeah, I got you. I'll hook you up, man. Yeah,
man. I mean, I'll pay, but you know.
Yeah.
I'll tip, I guess.
I won't.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, man. It's not even like I don't even have the actual
so handouts going on here, people. We pay for everything we got. I paid for this jersey, this hoodie.
If I wanted, I would have to pay for it. So it's just
use our own promo code. To be honest.
But yes, make sure you catch up the socials. FTC
UTD.
What back?
100%
participation. Socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Fuck Snapchat. Not even for Christmas, but yes, make sure that you catch this episode. Make sure you give us a rating on your favorite podcast apps, iTunes.
Leave us a voicemail on
Anchor. Yes,
on Anchor.
Yes.
Plus a special call from EPL left of us a voicemail.
What?
Yeah.
Pick that up, bro. Pick that up.
All right, take
Marker.
This is an outro. But yes,
it's an 80-minute outro.
But yes,
seriously.
Make sure y'all have a safe and happy Merry Christmas. You know,
Kwanzaa. You better bring them.
Yes, I got you.
Some principles, man.
Yes,
Get some principles.
Yes, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah,
Boxing Day.
Yes, Boxing Day. We might do something for Boxing Day. So you might see something on the socials. You never know. But yeah. Make sure y'all keep it safe, keep it happy, and just remember, just because he likes Trump doesn't mean that he's a bad person. So somewhat. But yes, for Ringo, for Coach, for TK, for Rashad, for AJ, for Tanner, for Vera, for Reggie. I don't know how many other people I want to name right now, but yes.
Big up Atlanta United.
But yes, the coach is real. The coach is ever. We will see y'all soon, and we are out.